Perhaps the most immediately and widely associated image of Peru globally is that of Machu Picchu. It is a unique archaeological site and natural sanctuary that actually was declared World Heritage Site in 1983. It is safe to say, I think, for us Peruvians, that it is our most emblematic site. But it is not the only one of importance in a territory that saw the emergence of ancient civilizations thousands of years before our era. Just to mention some of the most notable other archaeological sites, let me share with you some images of, for example, Sacsayhuaman, Pisac, Ollantaytambo. This is Choquequirao, which all of these are in Cusco, but Choquequirao is closer to Apurímac. This is Huari, an empire previous than the Incas. You can recognize in the stones what we later see in Machu Picchu. This is in Ayacucho. This is Pachacamac, a great sanctuary in the coast in Lima. Also in Lima, Caral, the most ancient citadel in the Americas. This is Chavín in Ancash to the north. This is the marvelous Chan Chan in Trujillo. This is Cuelap in the Amazon in Chachapoyas, just to name a few. This cultural inheritance is so extraordinary and vast that it comes as no surprise that these sites and monuments have been historically regarded, at least officially, as the heart of our pre-Hispanic cultural heritage. But in recent decades, in part because of the influence of the 2003 UNESCO Convention, the official understanding of our heritage began to expand, to gradually acknowledge the crucial importance of another kind of cultural patrimony, the intangible cultural heritage. Instead of only monuments, sites, and objects, the UNESCO 2003 Convention defines intangible cultural heritage as the practices, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills that communities, groups, and in some cases individuals recognize as part of their cultural heritage. This is important because we're speaking about a heritage which is transmitted from generation to generation, is constantly recreated by communities and groups. It provides them with a sense of identity and continuity, promoting respect for cultural diversity and creativity. In contrast with the isolated and static nature of archaeological sites, which are somewhat frozen out of our time, the essential quality of intangible cultural heritage is its dynamic connectiveness, its fluid connection and also tension between past and present, between tradition and innovation, between preservation and recreation. It is this kind of heritage that allows for descendants to actively participate and navigate in the same creative, living flow of their ancestors. Among a rich variety of intangible cultural heritage, during this century, Peruvians have produced and witnessed the astonishing rise of its gastronomy. It is the new Machu Picchu, the new globally, immediately recognizable image, or rather flavor, of Peru. So I know you all tried some Peruvian food outside, but I'm just going to share some pictures, as I did before with the archaeological sites. I think it's fair. So this is ceviche, lomito saltado, which I think you tried, causa limeña, cabrito a la norteña, chupe de camarones from Arequipa in the south, papa a la huancaína, one of my favorites, rocoto relleno con pastel de papa, also from Arequipa, arroz chaufa, which is a mixture of what we inherited from our massive Chinese migration, a lot of combinations of seafood, and comida criolla, Creole food at large, but also more popular dishes like pollo a la brasa. We have a day for pollo a la brasa in Peru. Anticuchos, street food. Also chicharrón, which are sandwiches. Butifarra, another sandwich. And another one, just to end, less famous, but also close to my heart. Pan con palta. avocado. And of course, if you don't know it, maybe it should be part of our escudo nacional, the triple. In little more than 2 decades, Peruvian food, traditionally appreciated in its variety within our country, has become a sort of global celebrity of great impact. Just some weeks ago, the Inter-American Development Bank released a thorough report which includes some interesting indicators. First of all, nothing makes Peruvians prouder nowadays than its gastronomy. Nothing, not even Machu Picchu. Now we have tourists visiting Peru specifically for its cuisine, and I have a quote to share here from Mario Vargas Llosa some years ago. If someone had told me a few years ago that one day I was going to see gastronomic tourist trips to Peru being organized abroad, I would not have believed it, but it has happened. And I suspect that the chupe de camarones, the piqueos, the causa, the pachamancas, the ceviches, the lomito saltado, the ají de gallina, the picarones, the suspiro limeña now bring as many tourists to the country as the colonial and pre-Hispanic palaces of Cusco and the stones of Machu Picchu. Not only that, but the experience of foreign as well as local tourists going to our restaurants is directly related to gastronomy. Nationals and foreigners say that their satisfaction is guided by gastronomy more than the historical center or the people's hospitality of the magic water circuitry, etc. Or Larcomar, which is a mall that during years was the second place more visited of Peru, amazingly. So thanks to the culture behind our food, now food is over there. But not only that, the creation during this century of formal jobs in the hospitality and restaurants industry has been above the average of the growth of formal jobs in general. Another indicator in these rankings, Peru has, some of Peruvian most renowned restaurants have consistently dominated in recent years the very top of Latin America's best restaurants. This is the current ranking, number 1, number 3, number 8, number 9, number 11, which is very interesting because it's a Venezuelan restaurant in Peru. Peru has received the Italian cuisine, the Japanese, the Chinese, also now the Venezuelan cuisine. It's a very good restaurant, Alberto tells me. I haven't been there yet. But not only in the Latin American rankings, some of these restaurants are ranking in the 50s and more, and in the 10 top restaurants in the world, as Centraling number 2, Maido number 11, Maita number 32. More importantly, besides the explosion in the number and specialty of local restaurants and professionals, the quantity of Peruvian restaurants abroad has importantly increased. Gaston Acurio shares this. We went from 40 Peruvian restaurants in 2004 in the world to 4,000 in 2019. Of course, this is not enough, but it's a very powerful indicator. And very tellingly, between 2012 and 2021, Peru has been voted 9 out of 10 times as the best culinary destiny in the world by the World Travel Awards. This is better than Brazil in football. This is something. 9 out of 10, that's something. These are not minor accomplishments, but they are not as important as the impact this cultural awakening has produced in Peruvian society. Perhaps the most important consequence has been the transformation in the way we Peruvians fundamentally think about ourselves now as compared with decades ago in relation to our cultural heritage and identity. Instead of perceiving ourselves as basically guardians of monuments built by our ancestors centuries ago, we increasingly recognize ourselves also as creators of something unique and precious. We're not just passive keepers of the magnificent undertakings of previous ages, but also active bearers of the gift of original creativity, a gift that puts us in a position to give and to share instead of being only in the receiving end of things. This effect has had an undeniable impact in our collective self-esteem, as you can see. It is not just how great our ancestors were anymore. Today we feel that it is us making something globally appreciated now. This is a nice feeling to have in our relationship with the rest of the world, indeed, but within our borders, in a country as ethnically diverse, socially fragmented, and economically unequal as Peru, this boost to our self-esteem has opened new inward paths that allow for a more diversified and reciprocal distribution of esteem between our different regions and cultural traditions, a more horizontal and mutual appreciation and admiration for the diverse knowledges, skills, and styles that coexist in our country's stoves and tables. Here we can watch this dish from the Amazon. In a very powerful way, this gastronomical revitalization has provided us with a sort of public good of which we were not sufficiently aware of. True, not everybody can pay for the most exclusive or the most expensive restaurants, but no one is excluded from the benefit of being part of a culture with this unique gift. The gastronomic community, of course, shares now the general prestige of Peruvian cuisine, but the benefit goes beyond that community, opening a wide range of opportunities for designers, publishers, architects, entrepreneurs, not to mention, of course, aspiring chefs, waiters, and industrial as well as rural agricultural producers. All these in a society not precisely known for its abundant provision of public goods, services, or institutions. Even from a symbolic perspective, the emergence of Peruvian gastronomy has provided us with new metaphors to understand our society and to envision the one we would like to become. We might give some pause to the overused metaphorical mindsets of the like of building bridges, which need the persistence of huge gaps between us to be sustained as metaphors, and think instead of the possibilities and of the challenges offered by the meaningful everyday routine of sharing a table. This is far from being a fulfilled transformation. In fact, it might be even too early to speak about something beyond a beginning, but I think it would be foolish not to highlight the existence of such an extraordinary potential to tap into and build upon. And this must be said, if this potential has been revealed and is now available to us, it is in great part because of the leadership and the leadership style of the greatest promoter of this cultural transformation, Mr. Gaston Acurio. Here's a chef who decided to go consistently out of his way, and I mean way out of his way, to discover, celebrate, praise, and make publicly known the talent of his competitors' restaurants, big and small, fancy and plain, famous and unknown, turning them into allies and then into militant partners in the creation of what should be called a movement. We don't have time now to go into details, but this initiative evolved as to include the creation of Mistura, a massive gastronomy fair, a growing recognition of the value of local producers, rural producers, and native crops, the creation of schools to train future professionals, and also a role for government in the promotion of our cuisine and its produce and ingredients abroad through Marca Peru, our country's promotional brand. In a country historically characterized by political confrontation, which right now seems to be at its highest and simultaneously at its lowest, a leadership effort like this one is so rare, it's really tempting to call it a miracle. Except, of course, it isn't. It is highly unusual, to be sure, but it is nevertheless a concrete, recent, ongoing, actually, available experience that should be used as a guide. It might not be easy to replicate, but we might not need to go that far. We might begin by considering the enormous emotional value that the recognition and appreciation of our intangible cultural heritage has in a country as diverse and fragmented as ours. I've had the opportunity to witness the power of these symbolic gestures as Minister of Culture, especially when they are sincere. They prepare the ground for fraternal relationships, which are still very much in need in Peru. It is from there that we can build mutual trust and understanding, and also crucial possibilities for democratic strengthening and economic growth. The gastronomic revolution invites us, actually incites us, to acknowledge the existence of elements and ways that we have at hand and that can help us bring people together to promote and sustain collaboration, creativity, celebration, joy, reciprocal admiration, all different forms of social and even political and economic well-being. As a territory, Peru has been historically blessed with an abundance of valuable resources. However, our history shows how we have repeatedly wasted opportunities to translate the immense wealth provided by guano, saltpeter, rubber, gold and copper into a more cohesive, egalitarian, and prosperous society. Our intangible cultural heritage is another special kind of valuable resource that we happen to have in abundance all year long, all over the country. I'm speaking about textiles, carnivals, handicrafts, carnivals, festivities, pilgrimages, of course, dances. These are not peripheral, but central to cultural traditions that are still maintained despite the ever-growing migration of rural Peruvians to urban centers. We are still a very young republic, barely 2 centuries old. We have experienced dictatorships, democracy, state-run and market-oriented economic policies, all of them with consistent instability. Why is still instability our most consistent trait? I am sure there is not a straight answer, but I wouldn't rule out exclusion as an important part of the explanation. The genuine recognition, admiration, and celebration of the value of our diverse traditions, knowledge, ways, recipes, that is, our intangible shared treasures, offers a powerful antidote against the feeling of exclusion that has been so pervasive throughout our history, despite some slow, though important, improvements. It is possible for Peruvians to come together around the large, rich table of the intangible cultural resources we all share, and to explore and enjoy their tremendous potential, acknowledging that crucial component without which our gastronomy, and our nation for that matter, wouldn't exist. That promising ingredient that might very well hold the key for a more fraternal future. Our mestizo character. Our mixed, open, and always welcoming disposition. Thank you.